Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about Gen Con 2025, specifically a recap on the finals and discussing some decision points throughout that game, but also at some point I'll do a video talking about the bracket up to the finals, my opponents, and what they were playing and things. Put some context on the finals. Gen Con was 7 rounds, no top cut. So it was straight through. It was a whirlwind, and it was a little different than you might approach a tournament where when you qualify in the top 8, you kind of get a break. The top cuts the next day. You could kind of still yourself. This was straight throughout the bracket and throughout the top tables. Fortunately, kind of see who you're going to be paired against if you keep winning. So I was able to sit next to Pascal, kind of see some of the deck as he was playing if my round ended faster, and so I got some information there. But other than that, ironically, a lot of the information that I kind of leveraged was a day prior. This was my first Gen Con ever, and I know Pascal had traveled, so he may have viewed the event the same. I wanted to participate in like every event, so I really jam packed my schedule with the drafts and the sealeds and the team sealed and of course the constructed tournament and everything like that. So I get there, first tournament ever at Gen Con, and it's a draft, which I'm not a huge limited player. And we do our draft, and my first opponent is none other than Pascal. And I mean, literally, we didn't know we were going to be paired against each other in the finals. He had some cadences and play patterns. He played really conservatively. I had a really aggressive start, and it could have just been our list, but it definitely informed kind of how I should go about my game into the finals. With that being said, he played really conservatively up front. I thought I was going to do like win pretty decisively in that draft tournament. I have three or four minions on board. I think I have him down to 8 or something, and I'm at 20. And he really intelligently like sets his sights up in a way where I kind of have to funnel down, and he with like a minor explosion and a blaze wipes my board, and next turn plays like a 5 power guy, and that's pretty much the end of our game. He rolls me from then. So it just kind of it was just some information that would later kind of stay in my mind about, okay, like he's not just going to like overextend. He's going to be really intelligent. Obviously, I mean, that he's going to play really well. He's in the finals of the Crossroads, but it was just really ironic that we ended up being paired against each other in the very first event, in the very first round of the very first event, and then the final round of the Crossroads. So with that information and kind of the context there, I'm really excited to chat about this game. Again, I mentioned it's one of my favorites. It was really, really, really close. We both got to do some really cool big things, which is what we both discussed going into it. I mean, Pascal's such a great guy, and we were both just so excited to make the finals. We just agreed, hey, we don't care what happens as long as it's a good game. We feel like winners. And after the game, we were hugging and high-fiving and congratulating each other, and are still really good friends. So to dive into it, I end up winning the roll. I think I roll a 6 and he rolls a 5. I mulligan a tri site, one of the castle sites, just knowing he's on Earth. He's likely playing Earthquakes, and that would be really, really punishing for me to rely on that, especially if I'm playing it underneath my avatar, setting it up for after I flip, if necessary, for a Bruin to enable him to Earthquake me, kill my Bruin, and move me forward, which is a little bit of a gambit because with the sights in my hand, I don't have 2 fire, and I've already got a pact with the devil. So I'm going to have to really gambit on getting that second fire when necessary. But fortunately, my hand is pretty fast. It's the classic Ludbog cat on a pond on turn 2, especially on the play. This usually leads to your opponent playing to the side, which is huge for Hot Springs because it enables your fire minions, your red cap poweries, your monstrous lions to get in directly. Quarrelsome kobolds, vile imps off that third site, connecting the bridge forward on square 13. So also, whenever he plays his Rift Valley, to the side, it really gives me some peace of mind that he's not going to be Rift Valleying and then putting a Pudge right in front of me or beside me. That was huge for me, but it does lead me to be in a kind of an awkward spot to where my Ludbog cat is now going to have to take one step forward and not do anything, and is likely able to be removed with his 2 power, plus even a desert and a violent would kill the cat. So this turn, was really tough for me to commit to, because the only way for me to engage is to use my swap. And swap is a card that I really like to play really conservatively. If they play their ring, if they play a Drums of Doom, I can swap those to my sites and gain advantage of them. But I going into this game, I knew I needed to do a few things. I needed to keep some early pressure on, and I needed to keep his board clear, which is why I decided to kill the foot soldier as opposed to swap the foot soldier with the lead bobcat and make it to where he couldn't block, because I didn't want anything sticking around. I didn't want his tawny around, because a play like tawny attack desert to get back his tawny and core some kobolds is enough to kill my lead bobcat, and I just didn't want to risk that. So I clean up his board, and I'm feeling pretty good about this. I've got my lead bobcat on his site now in an aggressive position, and he's going into his third turn, and I've got a pact with the devil to follow suit. So as long as I see my second fire, my next turn is pretty assuredly draw 3 cards, which feels pretty good with pressure on. He thinks about this turn and has a solid play where he can play his course or his Kettletop Leprechaun in a way that's going to be able to block every site. That's fine by me. I'm just intending to keep his board clean anyway, force a block, and draw 3 cards. So I do attack the site. He decides to block and go ahead and go with the pact plan. Importantly, I do get the second fire threshold, which was huge. But outside of that, I knew I put a Saracen Raiders on top. And so getting that second fire, knowing I'm going to draw into that Saracen Raiders with the Pact with the Devil was really important. So I draw my 3, pass it over, still have the Ludbog Cat, which is huge, because it's just something that he's going to have to invest mana or attention into, which he does this turn. He has the Trinket and the Quarrelsome Kobolds, which is a really efficient way to do it, but plays really intelligently by not playing the Kobolds on his avatar, because it sets himself up for like a step forward minor explosion, dealing with both his unit and dealing 3 damage. But because I have the Saracen Raiders, it allows me to deal with the kobolds and keep pressure on and continue to push sites, because I think in my draws off the pact, I get like a Morgana Le Fay and a Ludbog Cat. So I'm going to push to get to 6 mana. I get to 5 here really natively. So I'm going to go just push to 6 on my next turn to play both a threat and my draw. So he has a harder time dealing with both. His turn, he just drops a Pudge Butcher, and that is a huge threat. But again, I've got him on the back ropes. Really, I mean, kind of not really. We're both at 20 health. Like, it's been play a dude, hope it sticks, don't let it stick. Play a dude, hope it sticks, don't let it stick. He plays his Pudge Butcher, what is intimidating, of course. It's something that I have to deal with. If he has Earthquake, he can Earthquake me into position by playing a site forward and hooking the Pudge Butcher. And importantly, the Pudge Butcher can now block that site, so I have to move my Saracen Raiders, draw the color out of face. Another positional site, which is kind of tough, because I really don't. I want to play into his sites to give me more vectors of attacks, but I don't want to put my positional sites like my castles and my colors in positions where it's going to be really easy for him to Earthquake and get a lot of value out of them. So I put it way off in the corner to where he can't really punish me super hard. My turn, I have it pretty much constructed from the time that I play the Morgana. The Morgana draws a Self-Same Simulacrum, a Polar Explorers, and the Lava Flow. And Lava Flow is one of the few ways that I can reasonably deal with Pudge Butcher. However, Morgana wouldn't be able to get to the Pudge Butcher on top of that site in a reasonable way unless I had played it on the Joyous Guard, which I did not. So I moved the Tawny over to set up this turn, but it leaves me really vulnerable to a minor explosion, which is really popular due to Morgana's stealth. So I leave with the Morgana stealth. I move the Tawny over and basically just hope he doesn't have the minor explosion. And if he does, I'm in big trouble. So he's playing his sites really intelligently, where he can cover the hook vector in any direction, but his turn essentially is disintegrate my cat, which he did anguish over. He really didn't want to do that, but he was also trying to free up some pressure and have a big guy in play. So he disintegrates my cat, hooks my guy, and essentially just passes the turn, which is exactly what I was kind of hoping to see. The Ludbog Cat was essentially removal bait anyway, and so my turn, I end up playing, and this was a misplay. I play the Polar Explorers from my hand and not Morgana's hand, which could have been very easily punishable. So I end up playing the Polar Explorers from my hand just out of like a shortcut. I'm not thinking about, oh, I need to play it from Morgana's hand, just to remove one more card from that hand. But it enables Tawny to go airborne from the back to kill or to deal 1 damage to the Pudge Butcher. I draw a sight for the turn because I need to get up to 7 anyway, and it's a Mirror Realm, which is beautiful because I get to copy his Desert and kill his Tawny with it. And then Morgana comes in for 3, and so I've got 5 mana remaining after the Polar Explorers, and I get to Lava Flow from the Morgana, dealing 5 extra damage to him, killing his Pudge Butcher, and at this point I'm feeling really, really good about this match. I've got cards in hand. Morgana's got cards in hand. Killed his Tawny again, and the pressure's high. This turn is when he goes into the tank on for a while, and understandably so, and ultimately does something that's really unorthodox, but really, really a good play because it goes from no power in play to 9 power in play and a huge threat by flipping into his Bruin and playing a Pudge Butcher on his site, which can also incidentally block for his Bruin because of the recent rules change. So my turn, I go into the tank to figure out how I'm going to deal with the Bruin. Bruin is my number one priority right now because if he if I am able to get him on death's door and Bruin is alive, I'm really facing an uphill battle, especially as my hand is starting to dwindle and I'm losing my removal. I construct this play, and at the time I was like, I cannot tell if this is the silliest thing or if this is Galaxy Brain. Looking at it back now, it was like 50% Galaxy Brain. I realized I could have just played the ring into Morgana's hand initially, then played the monstrous lion I drew from Morgana and pinged the Pudge Butcher. And now if he blocks with Pudge Butcher's already dead, which now I can play the second Polar Explorers, ping the Bruin, attack his avatar with my avatar. If he blocks, I get to keep my Morgana. If he doesn't block, I just get to attack with the Pudge Butcher. So this turn ends up being pretty important for me. I achieve everything I want to, but I I essentially spend every single card in my hand to do so and clear my board. The good thing is I kill his Bruin, he's already flipped, and I kill his Pudge Butcher, and I'm on top of him with a Ring of Morgan, which is almost as good as you can ask. The bad thing is I have no cards in hand at that point, but I'm looking at his life total thinking he's at 9 health. The Ring of Morgan is essentially going to be a damage a turn. I can attack with my avatar, and I've still got a Polar Explorers. There was better lines for this play. You can see me really in the tank here thinking about how I'm going to achieve the remaining 5 damage I need to kill both of his units. I should have played the ring first if I ultimately was going to do this. That would have meant that I could have kept my Polar Explorers alive, essentially. But by playing the ring, I have to essentially commit to Morgana dying this turn, which means I can't self same simulacrum it and I lose 3 cards. So I don't know if that was 100% worth it. It felt okay at the time. Again, being in a position where I'm on top of him with a ring, he's at 8 health now, and I'm keeping the gas up. That felt okay. I wish I played that a little differently. Like I said, I lose the self same simulacrum, which was essentially 3 cards while I have Morgana in play. So his turn plays a Phalanx, and I top deck a Violent, which the top deck of the Violent plus the ring and the Polar Explorers allows me to deal with this Phalanx, which, like I said, this has been my game plan the whole time. Violent comes down, pings off the Violent with the 2 damage and then the 1 from the ring, and then trading my Polar Explorers in. And I decide to give him my Tawny. And ultimately, that's because with his Thorns out, Tawny's really, really not mobile. And I didn't want any kind of giganticism shenanigans to go on with the Foot Soldier. And I'm not flipped myself, so that Foot Soldier can move pretty freely. Drawing and playing the Pillar of Zeros, which was huge. The crowd kind of erupts here. I kind of sink in my chair as I'm looking at our life totals now. I'm looking at his hands and the lack of board state that I have and board state that he quickly plays with a phalanx and a unicorn and think that that this run has come to an end, reasonably so. This is where I draw a trinket, and essentially I'm thinking, okay, I can kill this phalanx. I'll take 6 in the process and lose my Violamp, but what does that really achieve me? And I decide to stay on the aggressive. His phalanx can't block where I'm standing, and I'll get in 3 damage and keep my Violent up as a blocker. I don't know if this was the right play either. Mind you, this is round 7 on the second day of multiple tournaments, so both of our brains are kind of mush at this point. But I'd commit to the race plan, keeping my Violent up as a blocker. I know he has a trinket in hand, and I think what he probably should have done is trinketed himself, attacked with his avatar to kill my Violent, and then attacked with the Phalanx to get an extra 3 damage total this turn. Maybe 2 damage total, but really no bad calls. I mean, he's really laying on the damage now. So my top deck of Monstrous Lion felt really good. It would have felt better if his unicorn didn't have a Grimgris arm on it, because that would have meant that my Monstrous Lion I could play Trinket, play Monstrous Lion, and trade, or not trade, but kill his unicorn, and my Monstrous Lion lives to do more things. But essentially, I'm just staying on this race plan and get 8 damage in, which feels pretty good on a 2-card hand. We are racing. So this turn is where you really start to see the power of the Ring of Morrigan and a trinket. He plays a 2-power guy, a Kettletop Leprechaun on top of me, and ultimately we see that it's pretty inconsequential because I get to play the Ring of Morrigan and my other spell and kill his unit essentially for free, removing the threat of him just being able to kill me with a 2-power guy, because I'm going to be forced to flip. He has the thorns up. I can no longer move because I'm on death's door. So having a guy on top of me is really bad for me. If that was any other minion, that would have been really hard for me to deal with. But I draw a core some kobolds, ping the Kettletop Leprechaun, play the trinket to the kobolds, ping the Kettletop Leprechaun to kill it, and end of turn strike the unicorn. And because of the Grimgris arm, it's now striking for 6 instead of 3. And now my kobolds gets to be a walking kill spell, essentially. This felt really, really big for me. This gave me an opportunity to breathe, essentially, because now I have the Grimgris arm. I'm flipped. If he has a bury effect, it's good game. Like, he can just bury the Bruin and attack me with his avatar. Luckily, he doesn't have the earthquake or any bury, so he plays this slumbering giantess. And in this late of the game, being able to play a giantess and wake it up with a desert is kind of crazy, but he does. But with the Chorus and Kobolds in play, with the trinket and the axe, I can just move instead of move and attack, and his giant doesn't get to block. End of turn, strike the slumbering giant with the Chorus and Kobolds. So that felt pretty huge. And now we're getting to the point where I'm pretty confident he's just going to draw like the win. He's still not on death's door. His Druid can still be really mobile. Though I have the Chorus and Kobolds, we're really in a position where if he just draws a berry effect and has a Violent or a Kobolds of his own, then the game is over. So I draw a Jihad. I put it there just in case he starts to flee. And on my turn, when he passes it back, I draw the Geyser. And this play was, about as lucky as you can get. I would say that my last 5 draws were probably about as lucky as you could get, between the Monstrous Lion to keep pressure up, the trinket ultimately ended up being really lucky because I had the ring and it was a repeatable spell, and the Chorus and Kobolds. But this sequence was just, I spent all of my luck this year, because now I get to Geyser, I get to attack with my Bruin to Death's Door him, and on the draw from the Geyser's cantrip with the exact mana, I play a Quotus Anthias, safe as it could be to not die by his barbs. And essentially, for those who don't know, Quotus Anthias just lets you control your opponent's next turn. And I would have been able to make him attack my unit or move and won the game. So we knew that was the game. We shook hands and I came out the victor very luckily. Pascal played a great game, but that the cards just kept feeding me the exact answers I needed when I needed them. So really awesome. Again, this was a huge tournament for me, and I'm hoping to do a video essay about the tournament at some point. I just really liked to go over this because it was kind of a crazy game, and one of my favorite memories as a sorcery player, and I think it will be way way up there for forever. So cool. Well, if y'all have any suggestions or recommendations of what y'all would like to see, leave them in the comments. Please subscribe. There's a new channel. I'm trying to grow. If we're growing, I'll keep making it. So, but really look forward to interacting with y'all, and take care.